Hi, I'm Katie, the designer behind Katie and the Squid. Welcome to week 3 of the Leudinghause Crochet-Along. So last week we did the body of our cardigan, so now you hopefully have something that looks like a little vest. This week we're going to add the trim, so we're going to add a little bit more coverage to the front of the cardigan as well as to the bottom of the cardigan. The hardest thing about this week is going to be the first couple setup rounds, but I'm going to walk you through it. Basically, this is one big long round that goes around the entire front and then the bottom and the behind the back of the cardigan. So just setting up the couple initial rounds can be a little bit tricky, but if you take it step by step, you'll get it. And then once you get past round 3, then you should get into a good rhythm and you shouldn't have any problems. You're gonna start, well, the cardigan is facing me from the front, but you're gonna start here and you'll work across the back of the neck, and then you'll work down the front, and then you'll place a couple of stitch markers here where we increased to set up for some increasing in the trim to make this corner. And then you'll work across the bottom and then up the other side of the front, and again we'll set up for some increasing down here to make the curve. And then you'll work up the other side of the front and join where you began. And once you set up that initial row, the rest is really pretty easy. So a few things to note. Every time you start a new round, don't forget to turn. And before you get started, you will need 6 stitch markers. The best thing you can use here, and you'll see it in the video, is just 6 pieces of scrap yarn, and make sure they're kind of long enough to go through this trim. So probably about 6 inches. Make sure they're long enough so you can weave them in and out. So a couple notes while you're doing this trim. This trim is designed, it should lay nice and flat. And you'll know if within a couple rounds if it's laying flat or not. If it's rippling, then it's possible that you could be having some loose tension issues, and maybe you're chaining kind of loose. So if it's a big problem, you could go down a hook size. If maybe it's starting to kind of pucker, so what'll happen is this will pucker and then you'll have like a bulge right here. You're chaining too tightly, or maybe your tension is getting too tight, and you can simply go up a hook size. And you'll know within the first couple rounds if you're having any tension issues. And really, if you're having any of those kind of issues, it's just a gauge issue, and you're probably chaining either too loose or too tight, and it's not a huge deal. Just switch your hook size. For the first round of the trim, we're going to join with our right sides facing to the first chain 1 stitch of the back of the neck. So this is the back of my neck, and I have the right sides facing. As you can see, my shoulder seams are in the inside. So this is my right side. So I'm going to find the first chain 1 space here at the back of my neck, which is right here. So I'll join there, and then we'll go through the first round of the trim here. So round 1 is really long, so we're just going to go through it step by step. So we'll start working across the back of the neck. Now it says to chain 1, which I just did, and then it says extended single crochet chain 1 in each chain space across the back of the neck. So we'll start in the first chain 1 space, we'll extended single crochet, if I can get my hook through here, we'll extended single crochet and chain 1, and then in the next chain 1 space we'll do the same thing, and we'll do it in each chain 1 space across the back of the neck. Next, we'll start working into the ends of the rows, working down the front of our cardigan. The instructions say to extended single crochet, chain 1 in the ends of the next 2 rows of the front, and then skip 1 row, and then you'll repeat that all the way down. So first you'll have to identify where each row is. So if you follow these lines, this is our first row, this is our second row, this is our third row. Now when I work into the ends of rows, I like to grab a couple of loops. So here's my first one. See, I'm going into 2 loops here. So I'll extended single crochet and chain 1, and then the next one, see, the stitch looks a little bit different. So again, I'll just try and go into 2 loops here. Once you get a rhythm, you'll feel where to insert your hook for each row. So the next row is right here. So I'll skip that and I'll work into the next row, which is right here. So extended single crochet, chain 1. And then our next row is right here. So I'll extended single crochet and chain 1. And then our next row is right here, so we'll skip that and go into the next one here. So now it says to repeat this sequencing until you have 10 rows left. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause right here, and I'm going to use a stitch marker so I can find where my last 10 rows are. So remember, we increased here at the bottom, so these last 10 rows are actually where we did all of this increasing. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is my 10th row from the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and place a stitch marker there. Then I'll repeat all of my pattern all the way down until I reach where I marked that stitch. So once you reach your stitch marker, you can follow the next set of instructions, which will be working where we did all of our increasing here. So go ahead and remove your stitch marker. It says to extended single crochet, chain 1 in the next 3 rows. So basically we're not skipping any rows here. So here's 1. There's 2 and 3. And then it says to place a stitch marker in the last chain made. So I have my stitch markers here, and I'm just going to kind of lay it next to this stitch, because what I want to do is mark this chain 1 space, and instead of trying to get it into that chain, I'm just going to lay it right here, and my next stitch will hold that in. So it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 in the next 5 rows. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then it says to place a stitch marker in the last chain made. So again, the same thing. I'll put it right there. And then it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 in the last 2. So there's 1, and then don't forget our foundation row, so that's 2. So these stitch markers are going to mark where we'll be doing our increasing later on, so that we make a nice kind of curve around the bottom of our cardigan. So next we'll start working across the bottom of the cardigan. It says to extended single crochet in the next chain 1, skip 1, and then you'll do that 3 times, extended single crochet in the next, chain 1. So might want to take a couple times to read that to understand what it's saying to do here, and then just work through it. So it's saying extended single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, and we'll do that 3 times. So that's 1, 2, and that's 3. So we'll skip 1, extended single crochet into the next. So then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that. So we'll extended single crochet into the next. So this is where we're not skipping. So this is where it's a little bit different. And this is why you're repeating. So see, I didn't skip 1 there. So now that I'm repeating that repeat, I'm starting it over. So that's 1, 2, and 3, and again here I'm going to skip this one, work another extended single crochet, chain 1, and now I'm starting that repeat all over. So extended single crochet, chain 1 in the next, skip 1, so that's 1, 2, 3, skip 1, because that's the last part of that part of the repeat, and then extended single crochet, chain 1. So you'll repeat that all the way across the bottom of the cardigan. So once you've finished working across the bottom of the cardigan, we'll start working back up the other side and almost mirror what we did on the first side. So it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 into the first 3 rows. So I just took that one out because I accidentally did it in the first row. So here's 1, 2, and then 3, and then we'll place our stitch marker in that last chain space there. And then it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 in the next 5 rows. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then place a stitch marker there. And then it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 in the next 2. And that'll bring us up to the end of our increasing. So next, as we work up the rest of the cardigan, we'll just be doing what we did like we did on the first side. So it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 in the next 2 rows, and then you'll skip 1 row and then work into the next 2 rows and skip 1 row. So you'll do that all the way up the front of the cardigan, and then you'll join with a slip stitch to your first extended single crochet. So once you've finished round 1, you'll start round 2, which says to chain 1 and turn, so don't forget your turn. And then it says to extended single crochet, chain 1, and each chain 1 space to the chain 1 space before the next marked stitch marker. So I've already done that. Here's my next stitch marker. And then it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 2 times in the marked stitch. Next, it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 in the next 2 chain 1 spaces. So that's 1 and then 2. Next, we'll work an increase into this next stitch. So it says to extended single crochet, chain 1 2 times in the extended single crochet. Not the chain 1 space, but the actual stitch here. So there's 1 and then 2. So now you will place a stitch marker into that first chain 1 stitch of that increase. So next you'll extended single crochet, chain 1 in the next 2 chain 1 spaces, and that'll bring you to the next marked chain 1 space, and then you'll work another increase in that marked chain 1 space. So next you'll repeat the whole thing like you did from the very beginning. So you'll extended single crochet chain 1 in each of the chain 1 spaces until you get to the next stitch marker, and then you'll repeat the increasing all over again on the other side here, on the other side when you get there. So at the very end of the round, it says to move each remaining stitch marker up to the first chain 1 space. So here we'll move it to it goes right in the middle of your increase. So you'll move it up, and then we'll move it up right here. See, it goes right in the middle there, so that first chain 1 space of your increase. And then once you finish that, you'll start on round 3. So round 3 of the trim starts off similarly to round 2. So you'll chain 1 and turn, so you're going to start going the other direction. And you'll work an extended single crochet, chain 1 into each chain 1 space until you get to 1 chain 1 space before the first marked stitch. So that's what I've done here. So next, you'll extended single crochet, chain 1 2 times into this marked stitch. And then you'll repeat from the beginning again. So you'll extended single crochet, chain 1 into each chain 1 space to the next marked stitch. So this will bring us to the next marked stitch, and then you'll extended single crochet, chain 1 into that marked stitch twice. And then you'll repeat that one more time for a total of 3 times like the pattern says. So work an extended single crochet, chain 1 in each of the next chain 1 stitches till you get to the next stitch marker, and then extended single crochet, chain 1 2 times into that marked stitch. So next, the instructions is telling us again to move these stitch markers up to that middle, the first chain 1 space of the increase. So it goes right there in the middle. Just like you did for the last round. And then to finish off the round, you'll extended single crochet, chain 1 into each chain 1 stitch, and you'll do this all the way to the end. And then you'll join to your first stitch with a slip stitch. Now once you get to the end of round 1, the last set of instructions is telling you to move these last set of stitch markers up. So it's telling you to move them up to the chain 1 space before the marked stitch of the previous row. So here's our marked stitch, so here's the chain 1 space before that. So take a closer look. This is our marked stitch, and we want to move it into the first, the stitch before it, which is right there. So again, here's this marked stitch, and that's the chain 1 space before it. So now you'll repeat round 3 until you have a total of 20 rounds. Remember, that's total rounds, not 20 more. Now you might be thinking, okay, but we didn't do anything with these stitch markers, the second set. Remember, on round 3, you're chaining 1, or actually every round for the trim, you're chaining 1 and then you're turning. So for the next round, you'll turn, so you'll start working this direction, and these will be the first set of stitch markers that you come to. So these stitch markers will get increases. So you'll increase your stitches here, but you won't increase your stitches at the second set of stitch markers. So basically we're alternating increasing on this side, not increasing this side, and then you'll increase this side and not increase this side. I did that because you'll see that the increases will kind of curve one way, and I wanted to make sure that it was nice and symmetrical and that the curve went the same, they mirrored each other on each side of your cardigan. And you'll see that when you get to the end of your 20 rounds.
So once you've finished round 20, you will do round 21, and this is just, you're just going to extended single crochet, chain 1 in each chain 1 space around. There's not going to be any more increases. Then you'll join to the first stitch of the round and you'll fasten off, and that's the end of your trim. And then the really fun part is you can take out those stitch markers and see how your trim is looking. So once you're done with your trim, you're done for this week, and then next week we will be making the sleeves. So don't forget to follow wherever you want to follow on social media, and when you're posting on social media to use the hashtag SquidCal16, SquidCal16. And if you haven't already, jump into the Facebook group. So if you have any questions, you can post questions in there. And also, if you haven't started a Ravelry project page, be sure to go in and do that so you can post your photos in there as well as you're going. And then, like I said, next week we're going to do the sleeves, and then we just have one more week where we block everything and sew the sleeves in, and then we're done. So I hope you guys are getting excited to finish up this cardigan, and I'll see you next week. Bye.